Hello, today's demonstration is about transparent and opaque paint applications. What I've made here is a paint gradation chart of yellow ochre, transparent fluid acrylic. So I've made the gradations by adding water. Below it, I have yellow ochre, regular opaque acrylic. I've mixed yellow ochre and then I've tinted it by adding white to create this gradation scale. It's a different feeling. So the transparent fluid, it's much more delicate, luminous. I'm using the white of the paper to create light. The regular acrylic paint, there's structure to it. It's almost sculptural, right? So, and then I did the same thing with a cobalt fluid, transparent with water, and then ultramarine blue tinted with white to make this gradation scale. So you can see the difference. Then I did some, using those mixtures, I did just some quick studies on watercolor paper. So here is the fluid acrylic on watercolor paper, different gradations. Here is regular acrylic paint applied pretty thickly, almost impasto. So it's denser and it has more of a structural element. Okay, then I did the same thing with the ultramarine and the cobalt. And you can see the difference, the differences there. Now, really where I'm going with this is using both types of paint to our advantage to create depth and structure. So this was a piece that I believe I worked on last week that already has the transparent high flow acrylic on it. And I thought I would use some of the opaque paint mixtures that I made ahead of time of the yellow ochre and the ultramarine blue. I thought I would use those on top of this painting so you can see working together that contrast. But before I do that, I think something that's helpful is to make a little viewfinder out of a cut piece of paper and move it around and find points of interest that I might want to hang on to or keep. In other words, I don't want to mask this out with opaque paint. So I'm just going to lightly outline this with pencil. I actually like this area here too. Sometimes when you have this much going on, it's hard to know what to paint over, what to let go of. So I like the sharpness of this contrast. I like this line here. Probably going to keep this section. And there's movement going this way and this way. So as I paint, this is me planning here. As I paint, I want to leave some of these areas that I've marked up. I want to leave them alone, but hopefully I'm going to get into a rhythm with the flow going. It's going this way, and then out this way. Okay. So I was looking at points of interest and the structure going on in my painting. I'm going to tape this down. I don't like that it's buckling up there. So let me just tape this down. But as I'm painting, it's not scooching around. I'm taping it to my board that has contact paper on it. even going to tape it to the table below so it doesn't go sailing around, which it often does when I'm working. Okay. So I went through that process because sometimes when we get to this stage, it's like, where do we go from here? And sometimes when people don't know, they just start blobbing paint on and hoping for the best, right? But if you pull back a little bit and outline points of interest and figure out where the movement is, I think that could be really helpful. Okay. I have no idea how this color combination will go with that. I'm going to see. Okay. So let me just get my brushes here. Okay, I'm really liking this angled brush, so I'm going to play with that. Maybe I'll bring in a smaller brush towards the end. Maybe I'll use my silicone brush. Okay. So I'm adding a little bit of water. All these paints have a retarding agent in it, since I mixed it earlier. So I'm adding a little bit of water just so that when I put it down, it'll flow. I'm going to go with this movement I see here. So, and I want to save that. So I'm going to stop and then I'm going to pick my line up again. I already crossed over some of that. You have to really kind of remember what you're doing. Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I want to add more of that blue, so I'm not going to. Okay, I'm going to go in for some of this lighter yellow ochre down here. I think I'm going to put a thicker line, kind of maybe ground it. And now I'm just going for it. Not even washing that brush there. Do a little sgraffito to emphasize the movement there. Okay, I want this really thick down there, so I'm going to come in with my silicone spatula, 45-degree angle, and just a big glob for emphasis. If I want to sgraffito through, I can. And I'm purposely putting paint on thicker so you can see the contrast between the transparent and thicker, more opaque paint. I can also, I think this is going to work. I can take the silicone spatula and carve through. Be better if I had my angled palette knife, but I've misplaced it. Okay, so I'm looking at that. It's hard to get distance on this right now. Okay, I feel like I need more contrast. I've got all this lightness. Here's some contrast here and there and there. Feels a little, this neutral feels a little blah to me. So I'm trying to bring more blue in and sort of frame this thing here. So I'm pushing back some of this yellow ochre stuff. I'm not that big on it. So that's why I'm just blopping right on top there with this thick impasto paint. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to do for now. So it's not as high contrast because of the colors as I might like, but I think you can see in terms of opaque and transparency, the difference. If I was to keep working on this, I would let it dry and then I would probably bring a red or some of this magenta color back on top, like maybe little dots. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can try and do that right now, and see what it does. I just have to find a color that I think is going to work. Okay, I grabbed a bunch of colors. So I've got a red, that's going to be higher contrast. Orange, that's going to be a little more subtle. Here's sort of this coral. I may end up trying all three. Okay. And I've got a weird lime green that I might bring in. So I thought I was done, but now I'm just going to see if I can push it a little bit more, because it's a little blah to me at this point. And I don't even think I'm going to mix or add water. I'm just going to put it on real thick straight. Okay, so straight paint, that 45 low degree angle, so I can just pull and blop that paint on there. Almost like frosting. Okay, now I'm going to go and do some red, smaller amounts. I'm still going with this direction. I'm pulling this way. So I've got movement this way, coming across this way. Okay, now I'm going to go orange. Okay, so this is more exciting than what was there before. Just giving a little bit of pop. Okay, and now because I can't help myself, I'm going to have to try this anise green because it's, I don't know. I think it's going to go with these areas here. Here's this anise green. Ah, it's a little bit on the transparent side. So this is what I call yummy, juicy paint, edible paint. Okay, I'm going to end there. So I think you can see the contrast between thick paint, opaque paint, and transparency showing through, particularly in this area here.